So, what we're going to do today is give you a new craft, a new way of seeing that lets you actually read the architecture of our digital world. And the goal here isn't just to complain about it, but to understand with real precision how it's all designed to shape what you see, what you click on, and ultimately what you do. Okay, let's dive right in by talking about a problem that I'm pretty sure every single one of us feels every single day. It's that nagging sense that our attention isn't really our own anymore. And it's that feeling, right? You're scrolling, you know you should probably stop, you even want to stop, but your thumb just keeps going. We feel hooked, almost tethered to our screens, and pulling away feels like it takes a real physical effort. So why is that? Well, I'll tell you, it's not an accident, it's a design. Let's start by naming the first culprit, the infinite feed. I mean, just think about it for a second. A book has pages, it has a final chapter. A TV show has a finale. But the feeds on TikTok or Instagram, they're literally built so their edges never meet. The end is always just one more swipe away, by design. And that keeps you in this state of continuous, looped consumption. And next up, we've got the urgent notification. You know, notifications used to be a tool for things that were exceptions, important, rare events. But now? Now they've been completely weaponized. They graft this false sense of urgency onto absolutely everything, from a simple like to a sale ending now alert. It turns what should be a simple update into this constant, pulsing clock that's demanding our attention right now. And the third part of this whole machine is the perfected template. Just think about those social media filters that subtly or not so subtly reshape your face. They take the familiar, wonderfully varied geometry of actual human faces and they systematically tweak it, pushing every single image towards this one narrow, synthetic ideal. It actually changes what we see and what we expect to see. So, okay, we've kind of identified the machinery that's hijacking our attention, but how do we start to push back? You can't fight what you can't name. We need a diagnostic tool, and that's exactly where Gestalt analysis comes in. And look, this isn't some dusty old theory. It's a precise, practical craft for naming exactly what is happening to our perception. So what is it exactly? Well, think of Gestalt analysis as a craft for describing with real precision how the world on our screen is built. It's all about understanding how certain things are made to stand out, that's the figure, while other things just fade into the background, that's the ground, and how that construction is specifically designed to direct our focus and, well, our actions. It's all built on the core grammar of how we see. I mean, our brains are basically hardwired with these rules. We naturally separate a main object from its background. We group similar things together, right? We mentally fill in the gaps to see a complete shape. And our eyes, they just love to follow a smooth, continuous line. These aren't just little quirks. They are the fundamental operations of how we perceive the world. Now, to really get how this grammar is being manipulated, we need one more concept, the Umwelt. This is the idea that we don't experience some neutral, objective world out there. Nope, we experience a world that is keyed specifically to us. A doorway isn't just a rectangular hole in a wall. To us, it's an opening we can pass through. The world is a set of usable differences that our bodies can register and act on. And here it is. This is the central conflict. Our stable, human-scaled Umwelt is being systematically rebuilt. It's being replaced by these synthetic forms, the feeds, the notifications, the filters that shift contrasts and rhythms way faster than our judgment can keep up, faster than our bodies can possibly adapt. Okay, so that brings us to this really crucial distinction, the difference between forms that genuinely help us navigate the world and forms that are basically designed to trap us. To really see the difference, we have to break down the mechanism at play. We can call them lawful cues and industrial lures. A lawful cue is a helpful prompt, something proportionate, like the lane lines on a road that help you drive safely. They're keyed to our perception. An industrial lure, on the other hand, is an exaggerated prompt. It takes the very features that are meant to guide us and it cranks them up to 11, pulling our perception completely off track. You know, the laboratory name for this is a supernormal stimulus. And I want to be clear, this is not a metaphor. It's a real, repeatedly observed scientific effect. It's an artificial cue that's been so perfectly tuned and so exaggerated that it actually triggers a stronger response in our brains than the real natural thing it's supposed to be imitating. And the specific psychological mechanism that makes all this work is called the peak shift effect. This is the reason why a caricature, which exaggerates the key features of someone's face, can sometimes feel more like that person than an actual photograph. Our brain just hones in on that exaggerated feature and fires off this massive recognition signal. And this chart just illustrates how a lure works perfectly. So the natural thing gets a baseline response from us, right? Then, through experience, we develop a learned standard that gets an even stronger response. But the exaggerated lure, the one that pushes a key feature way past normal levels, it hijacks the whole system and produces the strongest response of all. It becomes, in a way, more real than real. So, if that's the diagnosis and that's the mechanism, what's the solution? How do we actually fight back against this? Well, the answer isn't about having more willpower. It's about developing a craft of recovery, using specific, concrete procedures to regain control of our own perceptual field. The primary tool in this whole craft is something called the cut. Now, a cut is a decisive named act. It's not some vague intention like, oh, I'll use my phone less. No, it's a specific action that exposes the machinery, that installs a hard limit, or that changes the pacing of a system specifically to interrupt that cycle of compulsion. And this craft comes with some really clear rules. First, make images carry their history. Show the edits, show the source. That breaks the illusion. Second, restore endings and pauses. Cut up the infinite feed into chapters. Batch the urgent notifications so you can deal with them on your own time. Third, demote these algorithmic models from being all-knowing oracles back to what they are, mere tools. Show their limits. And finally, default our visual tools back to the normal human range and explicitly mark those peak-shifted, hyper-perfected images as what they really are, stylizations, not reality. So, what does all this add up to? Let's bring it all together and talk about what it actually means to reclaim our perception in this synthetic world we've all built. I love this quote because it frames the struggle just perfectly. On one side, you have Gestalten. These are the stable, reliable forms that help us orient ourselves. And on the other, you have Geistern. These are the synthetic hauntings, the lures, that are designed to rush us into agreement, to get us to click before we've even had a chance to think. Look, this battle isn't new. What is new is the speed and the scale. These synthetic forms, these industrial lures, they are engineered to arrive faster than our capacity for judgment. They are literally designed to short-circuit our deliberation. And that is why a conscious method, a craft like Gestalt analysis, is now so absolutely essential. So the crucial point, the big takeaway here, is this. We have to rebuild sequence and deliberate pacing back into our digital environments. We need to introduce pauses and endings, and even a little bit of friction. Because by doing that, we allow forms to once again instruct our perception, giving us information we can actually use without commanding our attention against our own will. The goal of all this was to give you a new lens, a way to see the machinery behind the screen. So the question I really want to leave you with is a practical one. Now that you can see the device, now that you can actually name the lure, what are you going to demand of it?